Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Hearthstone. I need to play 50 warrior cards and I need to win 5 priest or warlock games. So let's see if we can do that. Sadly, we just don't have the right people here on the arena run. So we're gonna skip the arena run, save our money. Let's see. Priest would give me the Wild Priest, which I haven't played in a while, or the Warlock, which is a mech deck and a demon deck. Let's try the demon deck and the mech deck, because all of that. Let's move down. We've got several things to talk about as far as Valve on my list of news that is fit to talk about months later. I really don't know how I could do that. Honestly, if I was going to have a real news and try to cover it as soon as possible, it would be something like Nerdist News on YouTube, which at one time I think was on TV. It would have to be several investigators, writers, just making a 5-minute video every single day, and it would have to be this whole separate team. So I wouldn't be upset really if I did something like that, where I handed off my Hearthstone account to a second person on my channel. That then turns my channel from being about me and my opinions to being me and my opinions and whoever else. But it wouldn't be a terrible thought if I could trust them and employ them in some way, so that I would probably want to be the boss, though. Almost certainly. I don't think I'd ever be happy having another boss in my life, honestly. I've never had a boss I liked. Never. But yeah, handing off the news to somebody so that they could get it out a lot faster would be interesting idea. So do I want to do Renounce Darkness, or do I want to continue playing? The idea here was to, whenever you discard a card, draw a card. But this replaces all your cards. So technically you didn't discard any cards. You just return a friendly minion to your hand. It costs 2 less. Give your minion stealth until the next turn. So, yeah, that was a little side quest we went on there as far as the news. Yeah, I know it's old. I know it doesn't make any sense at all to cover. Could I do this to that guy? Nope. I could have done it to him. Let's see what happens here.
Get down!
You are not the boss of me.
Alright, so moving on though. Valve is apparently making 3 VR games. Gabe Newell wants modders to be paid. Oh, those are 2 separate things. But the first one, let's talk about that. I don't trust it, frankly. Let's just put it right out there as it is. I don't believe him. I simply don't believe that they are working on 3 full VR games any more than I believed that they were working on 3 new games that weren't VR. Which is to say, they probably are working on Half-Life 3, Portal 3, and And what would the other one be?
What you got there?
Left 4 Dead 3. Yeah. And Team Fortress or Team Fortress 3. Or Counter-Strike Go 3 or Counter-Strike Go 2. I bet that they probably are working all of those, and I bet they converted all of those to VR friendly games. And I bet eventually they'll decide that they also have to be not VR friendly games so that they'll play without the VR headset. And I bet eventually they'll give up support on the VR because VR has gone nowhere at all.
Cha-ching.
Why didn't I? When I hit that guy, that was a mistake. Interesting. So, yeah, I mean, sure. I technically believe that they're working on it. Do I think they're ever going to finish it? No. But maybe. Maybe Gabe Newell has had some kind of huge change of heart. Maybe he's looked at the bottom line. Maybe he's seen that Steam is starting to get flooded with garbage and there aren't that many good games coming out. That's interesting. The audio kind of cut out there for a second. All of these things are possibilities, yes. But I want to see some real return. And the other thing that's weird about this, and it kind of does support that maybe there has been a change of the way Gabe Newell thinks, or maybe how even the business works. Maybe Gabe Newell is starting to step back and give more power to people to below him. Maybe he's gonna retire. He's certainly starting to approach an age where slowing down or doing something different wouldn't be unheard of. But he had just recently in an AMA game, not game, but an AMA on Reddit, he had just recently said how Valve intentionally doesn't like to announce games because they can develop them and cancel them very late in their production. And he hasn't really violated that, but he has said 3 full games, and now he started that boulder rolling down the hill. Like, he started an avalanche here. People are going to ask him in every interview, is he ready to announce the name of those games? What were those games that you were talking about? When are those games going to be available? Do you have a release date? What genre are these games like? It's just going to keep getting pounded on his door as far as questions because he announced it. And that's exactly what they were trying to avoid, was to say, we announce games when they're ready to be released, which is actually a nice idea, and it kind of works very well in the idea that they're not a stock-based company. They're privately owned, I think, and therefore they can just say, well, we don't have to be beholden to shareholders. We don't have to answer these questions. We don't have to be rushed in our development, which makes for a very laid-back company, but that's what Valve is, a very laid-back company. Now, on the next thing, Gabe Newell definitely wants modders to be paid. I think, in all honesty, that's true for everybody. That anybody who's legitimate and just not trolling, and I know I'm making a line there that is possibly an unfair line to make, because I'm saying, well, anybody who disagrees with me is not legitimate, which is not an objective and fair argument to make at all. But but sticking with my false pretense here, I think most people do want modders to get paid. The argument becomes, is Valve and Steam going to do the work to make sure the modder who is selling that mod actually made it? Because these mods on most games have been available for free on like Nexus Mods or some other website somewhere. So it's incredibly easy for somebody just to steal somebody else's work and sell it for money. And unless Valve's going to do that work and make sure that that does not happen 99.9% of the time, which is not what happened the first time they tried to do this, and that there still would be a community of free mods, because a lot of modders aren't looking for money. So then, is it going to be under the mod section of a game, you see all the mods ranked on the newest or the most popular? Or is it going to be, you see the paid mods and then the free mods are hidden somewhere else and you can't ever see them because Valve doesn't get a cut of that? Arguably, Valve shouldn't get a cut, but they're definitely going to. No way around that one. So that's part of the issue there. The way it was implemented originally is a problem. I think what you've got to do is, for Fallout 5, for Skyrim 2, Elder Scrolls 6, games that come out, they need to, at the beginning, say we're going to have mod support, which many games don't, and a lot of mods are done without mods support at all, and we're going to have paid mod support, and those need to be two separate issues. Really.
Portals online.
Let's see. We'll take the explosive sheep.
Job's
And
done.
attack there. But yeah, I do want modders to get paid. Ideally, I'd like modders to get paid by being hired by the video game industry. But then ideally, I'd also like the video game industry not to fire people left and right, or cheer them up and spin them out.
I suppose.
Which is a second story, because Activision, of Activision Blizzard, of the company that makes all the money on World of Warcraft and Overwatch and Diablo and StarCraft and Hearthstone that we're playing right now, all that Activision has decided to do some layoffs, and this is part of the problem of big companies buying small companies. Really, it is a major issue where Activision just wants to make money, and now they're laying people off to meet some bottom lines, probably. So they've laid off some people from Infinity Ward and Beanox, and I don't know what Beanox is, but I do know Infinity Ward as a recognizable name of a company that made some big game. But it seemed like for Infinity Ward they laid off 20 people, which in the grand scheme of a terrible economy everywhere, that's not a lot. Sure, really. A lot of times you'll see jobs and projects claim they made like 1,000 jobs or something, and often those 1,000 jobs are temporary too, but 20 is not a lot. However, for a video game company, when we look at the credits at most games, 20 people that actually worked on the game is actually a massive amount. Usually there aren't 20 game programmers. Usually there aren't 20 artists. So if they fired all of the game programmers and all of the artists, maybe combined, that would be an entire video game company. Now, around that, usually these people go and start their own companies or go work for a new company. So there's hope for them, but it's part of a consistent cycle that we see in the video game industry. It's just like, you made one game, it sold, it didn't meet our crazy expectations, or you made a game, it did meet our expectations, but we still didn't make as much money as the stockholders wanted, so we're laying you off. And it's just not fair. The video game industry, to get in a little bit of a rant, screams for game programmers and game developers union. Just every single video game programmer, every single artist, the voice actors do have a union already, but like artists, programmers, and people that work higher up but aren't actually in management, like project leads, I don't think might technically be in management, but it seriously needs something like that where they can say, look, are you just laying this person off to save a few bucks? If so, we're gonna fight it. Or if you're laying this person off because of actual more legitimate arguments, like they're not a good programmer. There's plenty of bad programmers in there in the video game industry, I'm sure, but part of that is also feeds into itself because they get laid off. The good programmers get burned out and decide to go work for like a financial investments company. It's a lot easier to get paid a lot more money and go program something that trades stocks instead of programming a video game and then having to find a new job left and right. You really have to love the industry. You get way overworked, and part of the thing is, if they didn't overwork them so much, then and just equally balanced out their efforts and had realistic release dates to begin with, you would have work year-round that way, instead of cramming it all into just a few months.
Stay on target. Stay on target.
Job done.
Let's go ahead. Kill a bunch of those. So, yeah. Moving on. I don't think there was anything else about Valve. I think Valve... no. Valve maybe... No, that was Google. EU is trying to sue Google and Netflix. This is more technology related than anything else, but they want to sue Google because they're always suing Google, and they want to sue Netflix to force Netflix into allowing their content in different countries in the EU, which, I mean, that I thought that was the laws of their copyrights would be the only reason why Netflix wouldn't have anything. I would assume Netflix in itself would want as many videos on its service as possible, because that would just get them more money. Although maybe not. Maybe there's all kinds of like fees or things that would happen there, or maybe if they have to release everything in Germany, then they have to censor out all the things Germany doesn't like on Netflix for all of Europe. And so then, de facto, the European Union, which is run out of Germany, has to comply with all German censorship laws against anti-Nazi propaganda and other things, which, in the end of the day, that might be the whole trick of it. They may simply want to just censor out more movies. EU is weird. But that's all kind of not related to Valve. I thought maybe Valve was getting sued, but I guess not. Let's move on to the next thing, though.
versus Valera.
Watch.
We got about 10 minutes left.
Your soul
Keeping an eye
shall
on
be
the clock.
mine.
Steam is getting rid of Greenlight. Now, apparently Steam has been saying it was going to get rid of Greenlight for a while. But now they're actually putting a date on it, which does go back to the argument maybe there's been a slight change of heart with Gabe Newell and just the way of thinking in Valve. They want to replace it with something called Steam Direct, which requires the people to apply extensive paperwork and pay more money, theoretically more money. There is an issue on that as a recoupable fee, which how you recoup the fee has not been explained, but my guess would be that you recoup the fee by making a certain number of sales after making Valve enough money to that is more than what the fee was worth. And I wouldn't be surprised if once they get everything settled in this whole idea, it turns out that you would have to sell 1,000 to 10,000 copies of a game before you recouped whatever the fee is. And the fee could be as low as $100 and as high as $5,000 is what they're asking for. Now, what this gets rid of is the voting element from Steam Greenlight. Right now, you put down, anybody puts down $100. It's all automated. They get on the Steam Greenlight page and they beg for votes or trade keys for votes, and which is something that they're not supposed to do, but they do anyways. And if they get enough votes, they're on Steam. Inherently, what this doesn't fix is the 4,000 games that came out like this year, most of which were garbage. Those elements are still very much just on Steam, and there's really no way to get them off Steam. I mean, Valve could kick them off, and maybe that's what they will slowly start doing. But I would like to see Valve implement a system like, you get a certain number of refunds, you get a certain number of complaints coming to us, 10%, let's say. We're going to start investigating why your game is so negatively reviewed, why your game is getting so many refunds. We're going to look at this, and we're going to start kicking off the 10% of games. Of course, this could be abused. Any hard number could be, but as long as they actually look into it and have a person go, no, this game is just hated because it says something controversial, or this game is just hated because they said something on Twitter that people don't like. Those reasons, I would say, they should ignore. But if it turns out that somebody played through the whole game and found it really bad, or found it deceiving, or just ran poorly, and that would include like things that are made by the big AAA games, because the LEGO games don't run well for me. If it turns out that the Lego games don't run well for a majority of people, they should be kicked off Steam.
The
Or
light protects me.
and for the big things like that, maybe they go to them and say, look, you've got to put out a patch for this game because this is not running well. We're going to stop allowing you to sell it unless you patch it. Your choice. We can either take it off or you can patch it. And maybe they'll give them a little grace period there and give them a month or two to, or even 6 months. Give them 6 months to make a patch. But after a generous 6 months, if you haven't put out a patch and fixed your game, then it should be taken off Steam. Even old games that used to work should be taken off Steam. And there should just be a constant, look, this has to, we're selling this now. It has to actually work now. If it doesn't work now, then it's got to go. Let's see. Do I want to kill this guy? Even if I did, it wouldn't get rid of him. So I don't do this. That element is certainly not talked about right now. It has nothing to do with Greenlight. It has nothing to do with Steam Direct. But the truth is, we need to get the garbage out of the room before you start talking about what new things we're going to let in the room. It doesn't matter. If there's a big old pile of smelly, stinky garbage in the middle of your living room, you can't say, well, from now on, we're only going to let good, clean things in this room. We're going to do a great vetting process to make sure no more garbage gets in this room. It doesn't fix the problem that there's a pile of garbage still in the room, and that's a simplistic analogy of what Steam is. It's got problems that it needs to go back and fix and reverse. Now, Steam Direct right now is so undefined. It could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. If it's $100 to get in Steam Direct, it's no different than Steam Greenlight. It's actually worse than Steam Greenlight because at least there was some voting and vetting going on by the general populace of people that was getting manipulated, certainly, but you couldn't just put $100 down and then be in all of Steam. It was at least getting sectioned off to the Steam Greenlight section.
Thank you.
And there's still a major problem that is also not getting directed here of early access, because it's so easy just to say, well, it's early access, it's early access. If it was $5,000 per game, this fee is per game, that certainly would stop a lot of people. In theory, but not really. Here's the issue. $5,000, $10,000, $25,000, maybe even $50,000 per game as a recoupable fee is nothing in today's Kickstarter world. It's a crazy thing to say. If I had $50,000 in my pocket right now, that would be amazing. I'd love that. But it's really means nothing in a Kickstarter world. It doesn't take anything to go do GoFundMe, Kickstarter, even Fig, even Patreon on any of these games and get that fee. All you've given every single scammer and poor video game developer is a great reason to go start a Kickstarter and make the fans fund the game before they even get the game. Sure, that might stop a few scammers because you now have to really convince people to donate. But even at $5,000 is nothing to get on a Kickstarter. And that was the maximum they were thinking about. It doesn't fix anything. It really doesn't. What they need to do is have people look at it And according to Jim Sterling, in his one experiment, in one day only 100 games got added to Steam Greenlight. And Valve is a big enough company. They make billions of dollars. They can hire 3 people. I imagine that's all you would need to look at 100 games per day. For at least some basic things. Like, does the game run? Does the game look like garbage? I would probably hire 10 people. Have 3 of them look at the new games, make sure, do they run, do they need further review? And then, as long as they run, and by those 3 people, they look like they're of at least some level of quality, then they would just say no further review, looking for it needed, but we'll keep an eye on it. And they should definitely have that idea of, if a game has a bunch of refund requests, we'll investigate it further. If the game doesn't run, it's immediately rejected. If the game needs further review and they look into it with a second tier of 3 people looking at the game saying, okay, this looks like it's a little low quality, or looks like it has copyright infringement or something like that, or then maybe at that point you review it a little bit, spend part of your day looking at that. And then, upon further review, you would either approve it or disapprove it. And see, then I said I'd hire 10 guys. I just did it in 6. I'd use the other 4 guys, I suppose, to just back up all of that. Maybe the other 4 guys would be a special customer support that replies to it. Like, and see, when a game doesn't run, and it should just, like, it should be pretty obvious, right? Like, maybe they should have a test bed of a few different styles of computers, but if it fails on 5 different computers, then if it fails on even 1 of 5 different computers, it shouldn't be on Steam. The odds are way too high it will fail on too many customers' computers. Like, and in all seriousness, you would just need a high-end AMD graphics card and CPU, a high-end Intel and NVIDIA graphics card and CPU, and then a mid and a low version of both of those computers. So 6 computers, that's all you need for Windows PC. If it runs on Linux, then you just need to try it on like one Linux and just say, okay, it ran on this one Linux or not. In fact, frankly, if they say it runs on Linux, I probably wouldn't even bother. Linux people, including myself, because I like Linux, are so techy that don't even bother having that as an element to test. But test it on Mac OS, whatever Macintosh, Apple products it says it runs on. And see, that in itself is super easy, because you just have to have like whatever the minimum requirements of they're saying. So if it's OS 10 on a MacBook Pro from 2014, that's your minimum requirement. You try it on that, does it run? It should run. If it doesn't run on a Mac, then reject it for that. And you could be a little bit nicer and say, look, this didn't run on Mac, so you can't say it runs on Mac for now, but you could resubmit and we could try again and see. They just need to curate. And I know they don't want to curate, but that's the only thing that's going to make their store better, is curating. Right now, Steam Direct seems like arguably could just make more money for Steam with them doing less work. That's what Jim Sterling said. I'm not sure I fully agree with that as an idea, but it doesn't really seem like it is doing the things that need to be done to fix Steam. Maybe those things will get announced as their own thing. In a lot of ways, I still like my Steam Vapor idea because, of course, I like it. It's my idea. But the concept of just saying, look, we will allow you to put all of your free-to-play bad games that we're not going to look at in a separate section called Steam Vapor. But the AAA games that you're going to charge money for, we want those to... We want those in particular highlighted in front of the store, and we want to make money on things that we don't have to deal with refunds and that don't upset our customers. Like, we already have itch.io, and that's something that wasn't there, I don't believe, before Steam started. And that's really where all of the free and low quality games should be. But I'm not upset if Steam bought itch.io tomorrow and the students that are, or people who just don't really know how to program video games, put all their little projects there. That's fine. And but the thing is, the trading cards have made this horrible and made it very, very bad. Because now you can put out a garbage thing and get money simply because people are trading cards. The in-game currency system, where you can trade the gems you get from trading cards and sell the gems and all of that. It's this weird, complicated money laundering system that's made it worse. The idea that refunds took so long to be forced upon you is yet another just example. Let's see. Mech. If you have at least 3 mechs. Alright, we do this.
Hurry up! Portals
This.
Job's done.
In the turn. This will be interesting. I might actually get Mimron's head to work here. At the start of your turn. Or I might just lose. Don't have a legendary to destroy. So this.
Behold the magnificent aerial command unit! Do not resist. Engage!
Yeah, I've lost.
Job's done.
Unless he plays terribly and just doesn't attack my face. So he gets excess mana to draw a card. Taunted +2. Yeah. So Steam's a mess. Steam needs a cleaner. We need a Steam cleaner to kick some things off. That's the truth of it. And until that happens, there's no way of fixing it. I mean, slowly, over a decade, maybe we could overflood the 4,000 games, which 3,000 of which are probably bad that came out last year. But it would probably take a decade of just really, really good games being allowed and high quality curation. and that's not the way to fix it. It would take too long and just not be efficient. We need to get rid of the bad things. They need to go away. And with that, speaking of getting rid of the bad things, I'm insulting myself for no reason here. We didn't make a ton of progress, but we've got more to talk about next time. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.